Welcome back, Capital F football fans, to the O&O Sports YouTube channel. Today, we are looking at my picks for the biggest games of Week 5 of this college football season. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. Around 95% of you watching aren't subscribed, so be sure to do that. And follow the other O&O Sports social medias to be entered into the 75 or die giveaway. The winner gets at minimum $50 and at most $100. Literally free money, folks. Take advantage of it. Links to those will be in the description below. And without further ado, let's jump into these matchups, starting with 23rd ranked Illinois facing 21st ranked USC at home. USC is a 7.5 point favorite coming into this matchup, and that means FanDuel has the Trojans winning about 33-26. And the elephant in the room here is, yes, Illinois just lost by 53 points to Indiana. So in order to analyze this matchup, we essentially just have to throw that out. They got absolutely dominated, but that does not mean they are a bad team. They're going to be at home here, and they've obviously performed way better at home, albeit to just Western Michigan and Western Illinois. And despite that terrible performance last week, there's no getting around that. They absolutely sucked. They are still a very, very efficient team overall, both offensively and defensively. But coming into this game is USC, who has looked like one of, if not the best offense in the country. And statistically, they have been the best offense in terms of yards per game, yards per play, and points per play. And that is coming off the back of what could be a potential Heisman candidacy for Jaden Mayaba. He has been truly elite to start this season. And if you do not already know, I do have a formula for picking these games based on efficiency numbers, and his name is Todd. He is my robot friend. You'll see him pop into the channel. And Todd is showing me that USC has the 7th overall offense in terms of pure efficiency numbers, the 34th ranked defense, and they're the 25th best team overall on the road, versus Illinois, who has the 15th ranked defense in terms of efficiency, the 30th ranked offense, and is top 15 at home. So despite what everything may tell you, despite your gut, despite your heart, despite your brain, I think this will be a very good matchup. I do have USC winning this matchup ultimately, but I could very well see Illinois covering the 7.5 point spread, and I have them doing so. I have USC winning this matchup 34-28. And next, it is the 9th ranked Texas A&M Aggies taking on the Auburn Tigers. Texas A&M is a 6.5 point favorite at home, and this is another deceptively good matchup this week. Texas A&M has been rolling early to start the season. They obviously get that huge win over Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. They've been averaging over 40 points per game to start this season, and Todd has them as a top 12 offense so far, but they are meeting a top 10 defense in Auburn. They are allowing just 16 points per game, 4.4 yards per play, and 1.9 rushing yards per attempt. And that is very important facing a team like Texas A&M, where they haven't been super efficient running the ball, but it is still a big part of their offense. Right now, they average 4.7 yards per rush attempt. And I think Auburn will be able to affect that rushing attack. They might even be able to take that completely out of this game, which doesn't allow Texas A&M to control the pace. But like I said, Texas A&M hasn't been that ground and pound, control the pace type of team this year. And they have the biggest X factor in this matchup in Marcel Reed. He hasn't been super efficient at quarterback, but he has been very explosive, a very talented passer so far this year. And if this one was being played at Jordan-Hare Stadium, I would have Texas A&M on very high alert upset watch. But I think this being played at Kyle Field with the 12th man at Texas A&M's back. But I still really do like this Auburn defense. I think there is a very real possibility they could win this matchup if they force turnovers and run the ball effectively like they did against Baylor in week 1. And most importantly, if they don't allow Jackson Arnold to be sacked 10 times in this game, that is just unacceptable. Can't have that happen again. But ultimately, I have them beating the spread, but still losing to Texas A&M 31-27. And next, another deceptively good matchup. 13th ranked Ole Miss taking on the 4th ranked LSU Tigers at home. Ole Miss is actually the favorite in this one by 1.5 points, which means FanDuel has this one at about 27-24. And I think Vegas is on the money with this one. I have absolutely loved this Ole Miss offense, even since Austin Simmons has gone down. Trinidad Chambliss has taken over and been maybe even better than Austin Simmons was in the first 2 weeks of the season. In those last 2 games, he has a 68% completion percentage, over 800 total yards, and 5 total touchdowns. And he played against 2 solid teams in Arkansas and Tulane. It's not like these are on cupcakes. These are actually good football teams. And on top of that, the backfield combination of Kewan Lacey and Logan Diggs has been phenomenal to start the year. Over 5 yards per attempt for those two this season. And their defense also has quietly been solid, while definitely not elite. They're top 50 in opponent yards per play, top 30 in opponent points per play. Like I said, very solid to start the year. But on the opposite side, while the defense for LSU has looked very good to start this season, the offense has been very underwhelming to say the least. They're 80th in yards per play to this point, 90th in points per play, and 75th in giveaways per game. And while I do think this LSU defense can keep it close, I don't think the offense will be able to capitalize. Obviously, if something changes in this one and Garrett Nussmeier goes off, the running game takes off, the receivers are able to get separation, LSU could very well win this game. But from what I've seen, I just don't believe that's going to happen. I trust the Ole Miss offense more, and I have them winning 27-24. And next, it is number 5 Georgia taking on 17th ranked Alabama at home. Georgia is a 2.5 point favorite in this one, which means FanDuel has them winning about 27-24. And while I think I have a good read on this matchup, this game is bound to have a ton of surprises, very unpredictable almost every year. See last year, for example, that game was just off the walls. But it is my duty to bring you my prediction. So here it is. On paper, Bama looks like the better team, just flat out. They lead Georgia in points per play, yards per play, opponent points per play, and opponent yards per play by a healthy margin. But in terms of pure matchups, Georgia has been the better team far and away. I think Alabama has played the better opponent in Florida State, but they obviously lose that game by 2 touchdowns. While Georgia walks into Neyland Stadium, goes down big at the beginning of the game, battles their way back, and manages to win in overtime. That's that real Kirby Smart devil magic if I've ever seen it. And while I do believe this Alabama team is one of the most talented in the country, it's not a belief, it's a fact. Alabama just is one of the most talented teams in the country. I think Georgia is able to outcoach them in this matchup. Plus, I think they have bigger X factors in this matchup. Ty Simpson has been very good to start this season, but I think Gunnar Stockton is a quarterback who isn't going to fill out the stat sheet to an elite extent, but he's going to be able to rise to the occasion. Kind of reminds me of Stetson Bennett for Georgia a few years ago. I think Alabama has more success in this one, especially on offense, than they did in week 1 versus Florida State, but I don't think that ends up mattering. I have Georgia winning this one 28-24. And last for this matchup, it is Penn State, ranked 3rd overall, taking on Oregon, who is ranked 6th. Penn State is the 3.5 point favorite, which means FanDuel has them winning this one at about 28-24. And this could be the biggest matchup of this week in terms of playoff implications. If you're Oregon, you win this one and you're in prime position to win 10 or 11 games this year, and that's similar for Penn State. They of course have to go on the road and play Ohio State this year, but still in prime position to win 10 or 11 games at minimum. And this is also a huge matchup for both of these coaches. Now, if you're a fan at all of college football, you've heard the narrative about James Franklin can't win the big one. He's 4-20 against AP top 10 opponents, but Dan Lanning also hasn't been amazing in that aspect, just 2 for 4 in his first 4 seasons at Oregon against AP top 10 teams. And to me, this feels like a real make or break game for both of these teams in terms of true contendership. Obviously, I think both of these teams can still make the playoff with a loss in this matchup, but I think whoever wins this one will come out looking like a national title contender. But it is still early. Both these teams could absolutely suck and we just don't know it, and this is going to be the first real test for both of these teams. Oregon is 60th in strength of schedule, Penn State 96th. Haven't played a lot of elite competition so far, to say the least. And in terms of the actual matchup, Oregon has surprisingly been the better team on the ground. Despite Penn State having Nick Singleton and Katron Allen both returning this season, Oregon has performed better, 6.8 yards per carry, which is top 10 in the country, as opposed to Penn State's 5.1 yards per carry, which is around 30th. Both of these defenses have been similarly dominant. They're both top 10 in all the valuable efficiency metrics. So that does bring me to the quarterbacks. Drew Aller, obviously super hyped coming into this season. Dante Moore also pretty hyped, but to a more modest extent. And Dante Moore has been borderline elite, 75% completion percentage, almost 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns with 10 yards per pass attempt, which is 8th in the country. And on the opposite side, Aller has looked rather average. Just 3 games opposed to Dante Moore's 4, but 65% completion percentage, 600 yards, 4 touchdowns, and just 7 yards per attempt, which is 80th in the country. And those stats alone are going to lead me to believe that Oregon's going to have the more dynamic offense in this one. Penn State's route to victory in this matchup is going to be dominating at the line of scrimmage, dominating the ground game, and getting to Dante Moore. But I think Oregon's route to victory is just being Oregon. Play how they've been playing. They have no real weaknesses from what I've seen so far. And while this environment is going to be in Penn State's favor, it's the whiteout, Happy Valley, big game, I have to go with what has been, and that is that James Franklin just isn't going to win the big game. And if I have egg on my face at the end of this one, if James Franklin ends up winning this matchup, I'm okay with that, just by the logic of it. If he's able to prove me wrong, more power to him. I just don't see it happening. I have Oregon winning this matchup 27-24. And with that, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and head down to the other O&O Sports social medias to get entered into the 75 or die giveaway. Literally free money, folks. Take advantage of it, and I will see you in the next one.